We're here at Makkos Daf Chav Daled number Aleph. Gentlemen, there's a specific place I want to reach today, so I'm going to go a bit fast at first. We are.
Dudes, let's go.
We have to share Rabbi Gamliel Magiel Mikra Hazeh, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11 lines up in the narrow lines. The last word in the line is Kishahaya. Because Gamliel used to reach this pasuk which says 11 values King David is telling us that we have to have in order to fulfill what the Torah wants of us. He would cry because it says here, somebody who does all these things, right? It says that somebody who does these things, he's not going to stumble forever. So he cried because it sounds like only people who do all these things will not stumble. But it's very difficult to accomplish all these things. If he only does one of them, he's going to stumble. So therefore he was very depressed. They said, so no, it doesn't say one has to do all of these things. It says those who do these things, and the assumption is that even one of them. We're not going to say that it means even one of them. It says another pasuk, Al titamu b'chol eileh. It says don't become tummy with all these bad things which are enumerated in a different pasuk. So nami anogeh b'chol elu d'matami does mean that all these tummy animals, if you eat them or you touch them, you become tummy. If you touch all of them, b'chad minayu lo. If you touch one of them, you don't become tummy. Elallah b'achas. No, if you touch even one tummy animal, it means you're tummy. Here too, hachanami ba'achas, we call elu. If you do even one of these good things, that's enough to get you into Olam Haba. That's he mentioned the Rambam in the Mishnah. The Rambam said in the Mishnah, if you do even one mitzvah lishma, that gets you to Olam Haba. So if you do one of these things, which David HaMelech says to do, lishma, that's enough to get you into Olam Haba.
Is lishma doing something? I'm doing this because I know I'm going to get into Olam Haba.
No, I'm doing it because it makes me a better person, makes me closer to Hashem, gives me more awe of Hashem.
I'm doing this because Hashem commands me.
Okay, although that too, but that's not enough.
If you do it because you want to get into Olam Haba,
No, that's not called lishma.
If you enjoy it,
You still get schar.
You get schar, but you're supposed to enjoy it. If you enjoy it, then that's lishma. Okay? If you enjoy doing mitzvah, then you're really doing lishma.
So what if you do?
I want to ask hold the questions because I want to get a little bit further. Boy Yishav Emidon al Sheish. Yishav came and said there are 6 principles which you have to accomplish or you should pursue in this world. The Chesed says Holech Tzedakos, those who go ways of tzedakah. They speak straight. In other words, they speak always honestly. Mo'es bebetza, they reject all sorts of bribes, or they're not looking for inappropriate profits. Ill-gotten gains. No air kapab mitmoch b'shochad. They wipe their hands from supporting bribery. They close their ears from hearing bad things about people. And they close their eyes from seeing bad things going on.
What's inappropriate profit?
I will get there. Avram Avinu was one went with tzedakah. Because it says that David HaMelech, he commanded his children and his grandchildren and all generations to walk in the ways of Chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That he's Olech Tzedakos. Dover Meshoim, what is it? Dover Meshoim? He doesn't insult his friend in public.
how do you do that with Shema? You're like, every second you don't do it?
In other words, if a person deliberately refrains, let's say there's a gang of people who are, it happens all the time. You have a mob of people who are making fun of somebody, and it's very hard not to be part of that mob, right? So to refrain from that, because you feel that this is against what's in Hashem, that's doing lishma. Yes. Yes. If you refrain, if everybody else is ganging up on somebody, and you stand back, you refrain from joining them.
Then why do you become schar?
Because it's much more difficult to restrain yourself when everybody else is doing it. Next, Mois Vetzim Ashakos, somebody who...
What if you do it? Do you get half schar? Because it's harder?
No, you get less punishment.
Exactly. So, I mean,
You don't get half schar, you get less punishment.
I mean, half. Do you get half? Onish.
Yeah, you just
Yes, half onish. Moisa Betzim Ashakos, somebody who rejects ill-gotten gains. So this is Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha. This case was a very similar case we had last week, that somebody somebody who had a din Torah in front of him, and he was a Kohen, so they brought him, this person at din Torah brought him the Reish Sagez, the first shearings of the sheep which go to a Kohen, and he refused to take it because he didn't want to have this gain, which would be ill-gotten in the sense that later on it might make his judgment go in the wrong direction when he has to sit in judgment. The similar case we had last week. What's somebody who closes his ears from hearing blood? He doesn't listen to, he doesn't hear a Talmid Chacham being mocked, not just a Talmid Chacham, not a great Talmid Chacham, even a small Talmid Chacham, even a young Talmid Chacham. V'shasi, he doesn't remain silent when he hears that taking place. In other words, when he hears somebody being mocked who should not be mocked, he protests. He says this is the wrong thing. He stops them from doing what they're doing. It's much more difficult to do that.
You got triple schar?
We're not doing this for the schar, right? So even if you get triple schar, it doesn't matter. We're doing this because it's the right thing. Right? Okay? So going Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon is an interesting story. That Rabbi Shimon, after he died, he was kept by his wife in the attic for 21 years. And anybody that didn't Torah would come to the opening of the door, of the opening of the house, and they would say over their case. And from the attic, the voice would come out who was chayiv and who was potter. And the body was intact for 21 years, except that once his wife saw when she went up, she saw that there was a worm coming out of his ear. And she was very upset about that because everything else was intact. He didn't decompose, didn't rot. His body was fresh like the day he died. So his wife came to him. He came to his wife in a dream. But Hashem says, "You shouldn't be so upset about that. This is the only punishment I'm getting because I once heard a Talmid Chacham being mocked and I didn't respond. So therefore, that's the punishment I get. This embarrassment."
Was he buried?
What?
Was he buried?
He was buried eventually, yes, after 21 years.
Why-
When Chachamim found out that he was up there in the attic, they said it's not appropriate for him to say that we have to bury him.
It took him that long to find out.
Yeah.
Tons of people.
He was separated. The rest of Chachamim didn't have that much to do with him. So therefore it took a while for them to find out. He died a natural death.
He told his wife to leave him in
He
the
told his wife to leave him in the attic, yeah. Okay? It's a long story. We get Bava Metzia, 7th parak. Very interesting. Okay, so he closed his eyes from seeing bad stuff. Rabbi Chia bar Abba, like Rabbi Chia bar Abba said, Dam Rabbi Chia bar Abba, Zeshe no mistakel b'noshim u'shasha omdos ala kvisa. Okay, it says that he said that you're not supposed to watch women when they're standing and doing laundry. Gemara says because they raise up their sleeves above their arms and they expose themselves more than usual, so therefore you're not supposed to stand there and watch them. This is the source, obviously, for not being allowed to go mixed swimming and be involved in all sorts of other activities where women are dressed inappropriately, if you can avoid them. Yes?
So like with that lawn, do you think, does that also like play for like sports and stuff? Is it just like...
Yes, you should not be watching girls playing basketball. Is that what you're asking? Or soccer? What? That wasn't your question?
I don't know.
You don't know what your question was?
No.
He wanted me to say yes to the first question.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
What if it's a non-Jewish girl?
Doesn't help. Has to do with your desire, not with her.
I
Okay.
know I'm never gonna marry a non-Jewish girl.
What? It doesn't matter whether you're going to marry her. We're not afraid you're going to marry her. The desire is...
Like a thing, that's the one thing that we're not worried.
Yeah, we're looking at her in and of itself is the problem.
nowadays you're not allowed to like see somebody in laundry?
You're not supposed to deliberately go and watch
You
them.
throw stuff in
This is where you have where you don't have to go there. Well, you don't have to go there. You're going there anyway.
Binoculars.
Okay, you're going out of your way to see these women, or you could go avoid them easily, and you're not avoiding them. Okay. So and he said, Yeshayahu Navi says somebody who does these things, which are just enumerated. So he dwells in the highest most points. In other words, he goes up to Shamayim. He dwells in the highest places. Miromim Mishkan. Okay, now the last two. This one I think is the most important. I think it's the most important pasuk in Tanakh we're going to learn right now. Ba Micha ve'amidan al shalosh. Micha said there are 3 principles Judaism requires. Now, bear in mind, these 3 principles Judaism requires, everything in Judaism has to fit into one of these 3 categories. These are the 3 values that Judaism represents, will promote, and you cannot find a mitzvah or an avera which doesn't relate to one of these 3 categories. So you should remember this pasuk and these 3 values at all times. And the pasuk goes like this. He told you, because Baruch told you what's good. We're in the wide lines, the 6th wide line. What does Hashem demand of you? 3 things. Asos Mishpat, to do justice. Ahavas Chesed, and to love kindness. Hatzneia Leches, and to walk with humility and modesty before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the more explains. More says, Asos Mishpat Zadin. Everything in this world should be based on justice. When we talk about pursuing justice, we talk about in 2nd paragraph Aleinu, L'sakein olam malchus Shaddai, to fix the world with the kingship of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That means there should be justice in the world. Everything should be just and appropriate. And we should set up Batei Din, we should set up police, we should set up educational institutions to educate towards justice. That's first. Asos Mishpat, Ahavas Chesed, it says here, is Zug Milos Chasodim, to do kindness to other people.
No,
again,
not to do kindness, to love kindness, to love.
Right, but Gemara is explaining what does it mean to love kindness? So you're always looking to do chesed with other people. That's what chesed is.
It should mean that.
Not Simcha. It doesn't mean that you love when people are kind to you. Is that what you think it means?
What?
It doesn't mean you love when people are kind to you.
No.
So
I'm thinking it means that you love to do chesed.
That's what it means, right? You love to do chesed. Milos chasadim is the chesed you're supposed to do.
No. I'm thinking that when you do chesed, you love it.
You love doing the chesed.
Yes.
That could be, yes. That's true. And the assumption is right. The focus is, of course, you should love the chesed that you're doing.
So
you should love looking for chesed too. You're correct.
Which one?
Both.
There's only one.
No, there's not. You should love doing chesed. What was the chesed you're loving to do? That's called Gemilas Chasadim. Okay? And Hatzneia Leches and Lekecha. The Gemara says a very interesting thing about walking modestly before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It says, Zoatzos HaMeis Machnasas Kala. Levias, burials, and weddings should be modest. They should not be too elaborate, opulent, or exaggerated. And the Gemara says, a kav v'chomer. If these things that Baruch Hu is said to do in tzina, in modesty, Amar Torah, these things which the derech is not to do them in tzina. Usually by Levaya you have tremendous crowds, the more the better. Or by a chasna, it seems the more opulent the chasna, the better. No, the Torah says do it with Hatzneia Leches. So dvarim shedarkam asa b'tzina, things which are normally done modestly, alachas kama v'kama, that you have to come and do them in a way which is modest. So Rabbi say, when people speak to girls, not to you, but to girls about tznius, so they talk about tznius as being how to dress, what kind of clothing to wear. When the rare times people talk to boys about tznius, they also will talk to boys about how to dress, what to wear. But that is an insufficient explanation of tznius. Tznius is the way you're supposed to lead your life in its totality. A person is supposed to lead a modest and humble life. Tznius can translate as both of those. Modest means without excessive indulgence and luxury. And humility means that a person should understand that whatever they're doing should be for a purpose, not just because they want to indulge and enjoy themselves. So it's a very difficult in our American society to even talk about this. No, it means you should enjoy yourself in a way which is holy and uplifting, not a way which is materialistic and excessive.
We had this conversation last week.
Yeah.
How you can use everything.
So right, so it's very difficult. I want to take it a little bit further now. It's very difficult in American society to talk about this because American society is something which is based on luxury and enjoy and pleasure. There's an interesting article written many years ago, meaning in the 1990s, by a professor named Dr. Chaim Soloveitchik, who's a grandson of the Reb Chaim Brisker. And he wrote that there's a very big difference between how Jews conduct themselves in Europe and how they conduct themselves in America. Jews in Europe, if they wanted to be holier, what they did is they were poor anyway. So what do they do in order to become holy? They davened with a lot of kavanah, they fasted, they took upon themselves to not indulge in so many excesses. They did things which made them more spiritual and in a way which is based on indeed being modest and limiting oneself in one's olam hazeh. He says in America, when Jews came to America, our culture is not like that. You know, who's going to refrain from having a hot dog because it's excessive olam hazeh? Right? But that's not the way America works. America is built on hot dogs, burgers, all these things. So steaks. So they said what American Jews started doing from American Jews, started doing in order to feel that they were better, is taking more chumras upon themselves. Be more machmir in halacha. So that's why, for example, 50, 60 years ago, very few people were machmir in Chol Yisrael, he says. Today, many more people are machmir in Chol Yisrael, not because not because this is the best way to be holy, but rather because they don't want to give up chocolate bars. So therefore, instead of giving up chocolate bars, they get Chol Yisrael chocolate bars.
So
You understand that? One second. You understand the idea?
Yeah.
Let me give another example. Right? Instead of fasting, which people used to do in order to become holier, nowadays what people do again, they'll be more machmir. They'll keep 72 minutes after Shabbos. After Shkiyat from Motzei Shabbos. Not, what?
Why is fasting better than keeping 72 minutes?
Because fasting, you're depriving yourself of luxuries, even of staples. Keeping 72 minutes after Shabbos is not a big deal. For us nowadays, what's the big deal of keeping 72 minutes? You're not going to be on your phone for another 20 minutes? Maybe that's a form of starvation for some people. But what?
What does it mean?
72 minutes means you wait until finish Shabbos until 72 minutes after sunset. It's called Rabbeinu Tam.
Is it still like a good thing that you have chumras, or it's just?
It's not necessarily a good thing.
Feel better? Why?
It's not as the Michtav Elio says that one should only be machmir. Chumras on your level. Did we speak about this last week?
Yeah.
Okay. So therefore, it's not necessarily a good thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. The person has to be aware: are the chumras going to make him a better person, or not a better person?
Chumrah all your life, it usually becomes on your level because that's just the way.
Right.
You are.
So, but the person, when first taking upon himself chumrah, one has to consider.
These are the first people to take on the chumras, but
Right.
chumras that are in your family.
Yes, you should listen to my last Motzei Shabbos. I was interviewed on headlines about this.
Well, you told
What?
us you're going to get into
Right. So you should listen to it. So what?
Click here and watch the video.
Yeah.
Leave a like and subscribe.
So the
Turn on the notification bell.
the point I wanted to make specifically about these three things that you have to be able to figure out kashrus or shmita or shatnez. They all have to fit into one of these three values. Has to be Asos Mishpat, Ahavas Chesed, or Hatzneia Leches Elokecha. Every mitzvah in the Torah, every prohibition in the Torah, has to promote one of these three values. Because it says very explicitly, Micha says, Ma Hashem shoel meimcha ki'im. Only these things what HaKadosh Baruch Hu asks from you. So therefore, if that's the case, every one of the Taryag mitzvahs has to fit one of these criteria. Now, it's easy if you don't know how to answer the question to say that almost everything goes into Hatzneia Leches Elokecha. Because all the limitations we have are to make us more modest and more humble in our conduct. But that's not really the case. Many of the mitzvahs, not all of, most of them, are for, actually I think all of them, are for the purpose of chesed. When you do a mitzvah, you're doing a chesed, even doing the mitzvah in the privacy of your own room, which is why the Hasidim say before they do a mitzvah, say they're doing the mitzvah, the Shem Kol Yisrael, right. So therefore, any mitzvah can be an act of chesed. And everything a person does in this world also is part of imposing justice in the world. Part of bringing justice into every situation we're in. So Gemara says again of Sota, that one of the terrible phenomena of Ikvus of the Mashiach, the time before Mashiach comes, is that there's going to be a lot of chutzpah in the world. And besides that, what? Today. It says also, Ha'emes nederes. The truth is going to be lacking.
That's today?
That's today also. But you see what Rashi says about this. It's interesting Rashi. It's Emes nederes. An eder in Hebrew means a flock of sheep. So he says Emes nederes means, maybe it's the Gemara itself, but the Emes nederes means that Emes is going to be, they're going to be small flocks of Emes in an entire landscape of Sheker. I mean, there's very little Emes. It's small groups. Here's some Emes, there's some Emes, but the basic landscape is Sheker, Sheker, Sheker. So if that's the case, that's the opposite of Mishpat. Mishpat is where things are just. Sheker is where things are unjust. They're false. So now, one of the tremendous the temptations, I should say Nisyonis of our generation, is the Nisyon of Sheker. Since everything in this world is so full of Sheker, therefore it's very hard for us to do Mishpat, to be just, to do the right thing. It's almost impossible in a lot of cases. 1 second. And of course, the Chazal were very strict, therefore, on things like advertising and commercials. Commercials are entirely, as you know, sheker, right? They're all based on, they're not based on
Jewish
reality.
People aren't commercials.
Sorry?
Jewish people aren't commercials.
Right, they're not supposed to be commercials.
It's not all
Yes.
fake.
Commercials and advertising is about 99% fake. When you go to a store and you're buying produce, they wax the produce in order to make it look better than it actually is, right? Do you know that?
Yeah.
Yes.
It waxes.
They wax it, yes.
Not always real food.
What?
It's not always real food.
Yeah, the food always looks a lot better.
That's the way on commercials, yes. When everything, the packaging in America, packaging is a tremendous science. What packaging makes the food look better for you, even though it might be the same food. We all know that if you drink Coke out of a bottle which says Coke, or Coke out of a plain bottle, it's going to taste different, because the world of sheker doesn't go by taste alone, but also by the impression they can make on your sight, right?
Sometimes it is the same food.
Sorry?
Sometimes they make it.
Yes, sometimes the generic version of product is exactly the same thing as the name brand. That's all part of the world of sheker. All these things are very, very difficult to overcome. The Gemara says you're not allowed, when you have a fruit cart, you can't put the nice fruit on top and the bad fruit on the bottom, because then you're tricking people. You can't give kids not what?
Why is that tricking people? Because then the people will drive it down.
Because then they're going to come and just grab apples indiscriminately. They're not going to realize that when they get to the bottom, they have to check more.
Everyone knows that that's what people do.
That doesn't make it right. Yes.
So then people know.
Yeah, I understand, but still, the Gemara was against it because it's deceitful. It can be deceitful. Gemara says now let's give kids candies in order to make them come to your store, because it's nothing to do with your merchandise. They're just using that in order to entice them into your store.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
What?
Seasons has free coffee.
What's wrong with that?
You gotta bleep that out.
So American capital, America
Good way to get business.
is not based on it. Today, if you don't advertise or you don't do these types of activities, you're going to lose money.
So you can do it.
Nowadays, you have no choice, but you have to realize that this is b'di'evet. That's not the way it's supposed to be, and you should try to diminish it as much as possible and make it as authentic as possible. In other words, somebody, let's say they're selling apples, they should go through the bin and take out the rotten apples, not leave them there for the unsuspecting consumer to get.
You know, people with milk.
Sorry?
That's what the stores do with milk. They put
Put it in the back.
Yeah, but right.
They put good dates on the back.
Right, but so the ones in the front are always I go to the supermarket all the time and I look for the stuff in the back, which is, again, this is all based on the way commerce works in a capitalistic system, which is not controlled by Chazal. It's not supposed to be that way. What?
You put crap dates in the front.
So that's the again, Asos Mishpat means to do things in a just way. Ahavas Chesed, to love kindness, to love doing kindness, and Hatzneia Leches. Over the years, many times the rabbis in different communities tried to institute takanos as to weddings. Right, takana weddings. It never lasts. It never sticks. What? You talk about it?
Yeah.
Class.
Really?
Because there's always the rich person that defies the
Right. So yes. So we have the takanas generally end up being for the poor people. So, but the idea of takanas is an ancient idea to limit the amount of people at the wedding, about the musical instruments. All these things were tried over the years. They don't usually succeed in the long run. Yes.
So can you use brown eggs? Cause like how of them have.
Brown eggs are more healthy nowadays.
I know, but they have.
How they more healthy?
I don't know. I think it's a myth.
Whatever. They have
I think white eggs are bleached.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Ew. Or maybe the brown eggs have food coloring.
I know they have blood. So
No, they don't have blood.
yeah, they do. Most of them.
Most brown eggs.
A ton of brown eggs.
It's only they're fertilized. Not most of them. Even their blood spots are not fertilized.
Whatever it is. So how can you? I know it's positive that a lot of brown eggs have blood in it. So how can you tell if it's considered
brown eggs
check?
lately?
If it's
People should
considered
check them. People should check the eggs. That's halacha. People.
It's part of buying eggs. It's the risk that some of them are having blood. It's not tricking people that you don't go
But
through
is
every
it
egg and
considered
crack and
tricking
check if
somebody?
there's blood.
No.
Have to check it.
So what's the translation of sheker?
What?
Is sheker tricking somebody?
Yes. Sheker is like design. If I another example, right? If I claim, you hear this in commercials, advertised on the radio all the time. They'll tell you that if you buy a product, I listen to sometimes to the radio on the way here. You buy a product called fruits and veggies, right? It's going to why those capsules.
Yeah.
It basically they imply that it's going to cure your cancer. It's going to make you lose weight. It's going to make you do all those things, which are outrageous and absurd
Sounds
claims.
so fake.
Right.
This is FDA accepted.
The fruits and veggies advertisements.
They stuff like 20 vegetables into this tiny pill. And
Oh
Yes.
yeah, veggie capsules.
yeah,
They
yeah,
always
they're always on there.
Right. So that is probably all entirely sheker. Okay. But America is based in America. There's a term for that: snake oil. Snake oil was a thing that in the 19th century people used to sell and say they used to cure everything. So that obviously was called that term stuck. Snake oil for a term for something which does nothing, but you sell as if it does something. So this is again. Asos Mishpat, Ahavas Chesed, Hatzneia Leches. These are the three values which a person has to take through life and continue to try and apply them and understand how life is supposed to be lived that way. Okay? This is I can't stress how important this pasuk is. It's a tragedy that in yeshivas we don't stress for you these things enough, because really every time we teach you something, we should tell you how it fits into one of these categories. We don't, but you should remember. And if you ever,
How do you fit?
what?
How do you fit?
Every chok fits into one of these categories. Most of them fit into the category either of mishpat, that's why they're called chukim, because they set law.
They are not.
No.
They're exactly.
No.
No.
Chok. It's interesting that we think that chukim and mishpatim are opposites. It's not true. A chok also means a law in a legal system. In other words, any legal system has mishpatim, which are just large, which are obvious, and chukim. What is a chok? A speed limit is a chok, right? Everybody understand a speed limit is a chok?
Sort of obvious.
What?
Sort of obvious that there is one. The number should be the.
The speed limit of 50 or 55 is a chok.
You can understand why.
Yes.
Not this.
Because if there are no cars on the road, why can't they go 80? A stop sign is a chok.
No.
Why shouldn't it be able to go? There are no cars around. Why should it not be able to stop sign?
It's the 50, not the speed limit.
What?
Because you know there's.
The number is the hope. The actual limit is
The limit.
to
So,
have a speed limit.
so every law, every law which is made into a hard and fast principle, even though that hard and fast principle it shouldn't be hard. We get a long way theoretically without being hard and fast. That is a chok. It's called a chok. The idea of so chukim are necessary because we can't trust people. Unfortunately, we can't trust people to do the right thing just because we trust them. In other words, if I trusted you at every intersection to stop, I'd be an idiot. Because we can't be trusted. Most people were going to try and be the first one through the intersection. At least they live in New York. It's fascinating. Outside New York, actually, people are courteous when they drive. But in the New York area, it's not the way it works. I can't trust you to stop. That's why we have stop signs. I can't trust you to stop for a pedestrian. That's why I have crosswalks. So chok.
Never work. Nobody actually
Yeah, no
stops.
one stops for you.
Okay, so that's
By lights. They only work by lights.
yes. So a chok is these are all chukim. The word chok means when something is carved or engraved, and this means something which is necessary in order to keep society running properly. So everything which we have as a chok, can have many reasons. But if nothing else, the Reb Sadigon says every chok is meant to impose discipline on society. So, for example, shatnez, right? We want everybody to be dressing in a similar way, to feel a sense of identity with society. So that is a chok, but has a purpose for it. The purpose is to give us a sense of being connected, just like a uniform gives a soldier a sense of being connected to his buddies and to the army and to the country. So through shatnez it works the same way.
That's so random.
So wearing a uniform is a chok, right? You guys have a chok here in school. It makes no sense to have you to wear a uniform.
Tell me about it.
Why?
Because otherwise people will feel left out if they don't have what he has.
Yeah.
So now it's because we don't trust you, right? We don't trust you. That's why we need chukim. Okay? In theory, everybody should be trusted to dress appropriately on their own. It's a logical thing, right?
It's not necessarily a matter of how appropriate you're going to dress. It's that, let's say, he has.
He has a
I might feel bad that he has this super cool shirt.
that's called jealousy.
Right. So that's, in other words, I can't trust you to do Hatzneia, Leches, Emunah, right? Even though Kodesh Baruch Hu says, be modest, I can't trust you. So therefore, I have to impose uniforms. I have to impose a uniform form of conduct, uniform form of dress.
You're not supposed to be jealous.
What?
Maybe focus just to see.
It's possible. It's possible. There are many different reasons to give for chukim. I'm just saying that one of the reasons for chukim is that one has to have a legal code, which binds people because unfortunately we can't trust people to do the right thing. You know, there is Avram Avinu, Yitzchak Avinu, Yaakov. They fulfilled Kol Torah Kula Shalom Nitna. What does that mean? It means they understood logically all the things that have to be done, and they followed that logic. We don't have that capacity. So therefore we need to have chukim, which tells us keep our society in check, in order. And there's a famous Mishnah in Ahavas. The Mishnah says, Imole Marash Makkos, if not for the fear of the government, Ish Yisrael Chaim below.